It is August 26th, 2024. A man leaves his mother's home in Crawfordville, Florida, wearing work boots and a dry-fit shirt, driving a truck he had only just been given for his job. By noon, that same white Dodge Ram 2500 is caught on a surveillance camera gliding past Tom Brown Park in Tallahassee. And then, nothing. The truck vanishes. The man vanishes. That man was Ian Benjamin Rogers, a father, a son, a man with a brand new promotion and plans already set for his little boy's birthday the very next day. To those who knew him, the thought of him walking away on his own was unthinkable. To his family, the silence that followed was more terrifying than any answer. How does a man in a heavy pickup truck disappear in broad daylight on a busy Florida road? How does a father planning to celebrate his child's milestone simply fade without a trace? Tonight, we step into that question, retracing the last hours of Ian Rogers' life as we know them, and the mystery that still lingers in their wake. Crawfordville sits quietly in the Florida Panhandle, a town where mornings move slowly beneath the heavy weight of late summer heat. The air is thick, the sky washed in pale blue, and the stillness of the pine-lined roads is broken only by the sound of trucks starting up for another day of work. It is the kind of place where neighbors wave at each other across driveways, where family homes carry decades of history, and where routine feels unshakable. On the porch of his mother's house, Ian Rogers began his day. The home, modest and familiar, had been the backdrop to countless ordinary mornings, but this one would be remembered for all the wrong reasons. Outside waited the truck, a gleaming white Dodge Ram 2500, fresh in his possession, its metal stepsides catching the light of the sun. The Florida plate, RSKU 57, marked it as unmistakable, an object too large and too new to simply blend into the background. From Crawfordville, the road north to Tallahassee stretches just 20 miles, a route that weaves through flat expanses of open land and into the growing pulse of the capital city. Along the way, the heat radiates off the pavement, cicadas sing from the trees, and the world feels both ordinary and fragile, as if hiding the possibility that anything can change in an instant. At the other end of that road lies Tom Brown Park, a vast green space carved into the city's edge, a place filled with families, joggers, and wide-open fields, yet also threaded with dense woods and hidden corners where shadows linger even in daylight. It was here, on this ordinary August day, that the truck was last seen. And as it moved from one town to the other, from a quiet porch in Crawfordville to the surveillance lens near Tallahassee, the line between normal life and haunting mystery was crossed forever. That line marks the beginning of Ian Rogers' final known journey, a journey that now hangs heavy with questions. Ian Benjamin Rogers was born on February 19, 1985, and at 39 years old, he stood at the center of an ordinary but meaningful life. At 5'10" and broad-shouldered, he carried himself like a man accustomed to work and responsibility. His brown hair was often tucked beneath a cap, his eyes steady, and his body marked with ink that told its own story. 2 gorillas and a salt shaker stretching across his right forearm, a scroll on his calf carrying the single word "Mom," and a tribal design etched into the other. They were reminders that his life was defined not just by labor, but by loyalty, family, and individuality. Just days before he vanished, Ian had stepped into a new role at work, a promotion that promised stability and pride. It was the kind of moment any parent longs for, a chance to provide more and show their children what hard work can bring. And for Ian, there was no greater role than fatherhood. He was not the type to miss milestones, certainly not his son's birthday, which he had already prepared for. To those who knew him, the idea that he would simply abandon it all was unthinkable. There was a gravity about Ian, a presence rooted in family ties and a sense of purpose. He was the son who still stopped by his mother's home, the father who planned ahead for his child, the worker who earned the trust of his employers. These were not fleeting traits, but the foundation of a man whose life was built on responsibility and love. On the morning of August 26th, he left his mother's house dressed for work, stepping into the truck that symbolized new beginnings, unaware that these small, familiar actions would be the last time anyone who loved him would ever see him. And as his figure disappeared down that driveway, it marked the moment where an ordinary life gave way to a mystery that would shake everyone who cared for him.
The morning of August 26th began in Crawfordville, quiet and unremarkable. Ian Rogers walked out of his mother's house, telling her he was heading to work. It was routine, almost forgettable in its simplicity. A man leaving home to begin another day. Yet that moment would become the final sighting of him alive by anyone who loved him. Hours slipped by with no word. Then, at noon, nearly 20 miles north, a camera lens in Tallahassee captured a fleeting image. The white 2019 Dodge Ram 2500 rolling past the edges of Tom Brown Park. The license plate, RSKU 57, confirmed it was Ian's truck. The frame was stark, mechanical, devoid of warmth. No voice, no movement beyond the vehicle itself. What remains uncertain even now is who sat behind the wheel. That truck had entered Ian's life only days earlier, acquired for work, a symbol of progress and responsibility. And now, so quickly, it became the only thread tying him to the hours after he left Crawfordville. The family's memory of his ordinary goodbye collides with the cold stillness of that surveillance still, two fragments of time that leave an unbearable gap between them. There are no other confirmed sightings, no receipts, no phone records made public, no witnesses to bridge the space between a driveway in Crawfordville and a stretch of road near Tom Brown Park. Just a man who should have been at work and a truck caught in a single grainy frame. It is from this fragile timeline that every question begins to unfold.
A truck is not a needle in a haystack. A 2019 Dodge Ram 2500 is large, loud, and built to be noticed. Its white paint catches sunlight, its license plate is distinct, its presence on the road impossible to ignore. And yet, after that brief sighting at Tom Brown Park, it was as if the vehicle dissolved into thin air. No more cameras picked it up, no officer spotted it idling by the roadside, no tow record, no recovery. For a machine of that size to vanish without a trace defies ordinary explanation. But the truck did not vanish alone. Ian disappeared with it. A man with plans for tomorrow, a man who had just settled into a promotion, a man whose family insists he would never walk away willingly. In a single stretch of daylight, both man and machine were swallowed by silence. That dual disappearance, a human being and a vehicle far too conspicuous to hide, is the very heart of this case. It's what grips investigators, devastates his family, and gnaws at the public imagination. How can something so solid, so visible, go unseen forever? No facts beyond that one noon frame exist. The truck has never been recovered. Ian has never been heard from again. A bright, ordinary August afternoon leaves behind only an image, and the unanswered question of where both man and vehicle could have gone. And from this impossibility, the theories begin to take shape.
From the moment Ian Rogers and his truck slipped out of sight, investigators faced a riddle with very few pieces. One fact is firm. At noon on August 26th, the white Dodge Ram, plate RSKU 57, was recorded near Tom Brown Park. That is the last confirmed trace of Ian or his vehicle. Beyond that, no recovery, no sightings, no indication of where man or machine went. For Ian's family, that absence is unbearable. They have stood firm in their belief that he did not leave by choice. He had too much ahead of him: a child's birthday, a new position, a steady role as son and father. Their public pleas underscore a reality investigators cannot ignore. This was not a man preparing to vanish. Yet for every fact in hand, there are critical gaps left unanswered. The footage shows the truck, but not who was driving it. Where it traveled after passing that camera remains unknown. Did it continue deeper into Tallahassee? Did it divert onto back roads, slipping past other lenses unrecorded? Investigators would naturally seek more: additional surveillance along the park's exits and surrounding arteries, a trace of Ian's phone, activity in his bank accounts, witness canvases for anyone who might have seen that unmistakable vehicle. Each of these avenues holds the possibility of narrowing the gap, and yet, publicly, no definitive answers have been revealed. And so the core questions remain. Who was truly behind the wheel of that truck? Where did it go once it disappeared from the frame? And why has neither it nor Ian ever surfaced again? It is in those unanswered questions that suspicion grows, and where the search for truth begins to fracture into competing possibilities.
For Ian's family, the nightmare began not in the abstract, but in the smallest, sharpest details. He disappeared the day before his son's birthday, a celebration he had promised not to miss. The balloons still went up, the cake was still cut, but his chair sat empty, a void too large for anyone to ignore. That silence, that absence, was louder than any song that might have been sung. They have never believed he walked away. Not from his child, not from his mother, not from a life he had been working to build with fresh hope. To them, every day since has been lived in two layers: the surface world where routines continue, and the hidden current of grief, confusion, and unanswered questions pulling at them constantly. Birthdays pass, holidays come and go, but each moment is marked not by who is there, but by who is missing. Ian's absence is not just emotional, it is practical, daily, grinding. A father not there to raise his child, a son not there to reassure his mother, a brother not there to share laughter. It is an empty space that no one else can fill. The cost of his disappearance is written not only in tears, but in the hollow rhythm of life interrupted. And the longer it stretches on, the heavier that silence becomes. And it is against this weight of loss that the search for explanations takes its sharpest turn.
Three possibilities rise again and again when Ian's disappearance is discussed, each one shadowed by uncertainty, each one leaving questions no one can yet answer. The first is foul play. A man does not simply vanish alongside a truck that size unless someone wanted both gone. The abrupt end of the trail at Tom Brown Park suggests something sudden, something deliberate. If the truck were ever recovered, if signs of struggle or forensic traces were found, it could confirm that violence had stolen Ian's path. The second possibility is that someone else was behind the wheel. The surveillance at noon captures the truck, but it cannot confirm who was driving. If a third party had access to the Dodge Ram, it would explain how the vehicle slipped away unseen.
Toll records, license plate scans, or witness accounts could either illuminate this path or close it forever. And then there is the idea of a staged disappearance. The notion that Ian himself chose to leave. His family has rejected this from the beginning, pointing to the timing, his new promotion, and his son's birthday the very next day. To them, it defies everything they know about him. Only evidence of planning, financial withdrawals, or intentional cutting of ties could ever make this theory hold. Each scenario offers a possible answer, yet none of them, not one, has been proven true. And so the mystery deepens, demanding a closer look at what investigators and the public have done in the long, searching years since.
The story of Ian's disappearance is not just told through facts, it is felt through moments that stop time. These moments, if lingered on, carry the emotional weight of everything that follows. It begins in the driveway of his mother's house. The morning light of late August glints off the hood of a white Dodge Ram, dust rising softly as the tires roll over gravel. Ian leans slightly forward at the wheel, a man heading into what should have been just another day. That image, ordinary, fleeting, is the last time his family ever saw him alive. Then, the screen freezes. A grainy surveillance frame. The same truck, unmistakable, near Tom Brown Park. The stillness of the image makes it haunting. The plate, RSKU57, sharp, bold, a clue staring straight at us. And yet from this captured second, nothing more emerges. The truck may as well have been swallowed whole. The next moment is not mechanical, but human. A birthday table set for celebration, a cake with candles, balloons drifting against the ceiling, and one chair conspicuously empty. The silence in that room is heavier than the sound of any party. The child waiting for his father, the family glancing toward the door that never opens. It is here that absence takes its most crushing form. Memory becomes physical in ink. Close-ups of Ian's tattoos, the gorilla sleeve, the salt shaker, the "Mom" scrolled across his arm. Reminders that he was not just a missing name, but a man who wore his stories on his skin. These images become touchstones of who he was, carved permanently into him, and yet left behind for those who still search. And beneath it all, sound carries the unease. The constant buzz of cicadas in the August heat. The fading growl of an engine that never returns. A clock ticking through the night, each second stretching into hours, then into days, marking time not just missed, but stolen. These moments form the spine of how Ian's disappearance is remembered, fragments of ordinary life frozen against a backdrop of extraordinary mystery. From here, the story presses forward into what remains unanswered. On the morning of August 26, 2024, 38-year-old Ian Gray pulled out of his mother's driveway in Tallahassee, driving his white 2015 Dodge Ram. It was a familiar sight, unremarkable in the moment, yet it became the last confirmed trace of him. Hours later, surveillance captured that same truck near Tom Brown Park around noon. Since then, no more sightings, no confirmed leads, no recovery of the vehicle, and no return of Ian. Both man and truck disappeared as if the earth had opened and swallowed them whole. For his family, the idea that Ian simply walked away is impossible to accept. He had just earned a promotion at work. The very next day was his son's birthday, a celebration he never would have missed. He was rooted in his life, tied to his family, and grounded in the future he was building. To those who knew him best, his absence can only mean something tragic interrupted his path. Time has passed, but the ache has not dulled. Every day his loved ones wake to the same unanswered questions. Did someone harm him? Did someone hide his truck? Did someone see something that never seemed important at the time? So tonight, that question extends to you. If you were at Tom Brown Park that August afternoon, if you saw a white Dodge Ram with the plate RSKU57, what would you remember now?
Could a detail still lingering in your memory be the key to unlocking this mystery? Ian's family still waits. They still search. They still hold on to hope that someone, somewhere, will come forward with the truth. If you know anything about the disappearance of Ian Gray, please share this story, spread his name, and contact the Tallahassee Police Department or your local missing persons hotline. One call, one message, one memory could be the moment that brings Ian home.